This presentation is to help develop motor skills and core strength. So what are motor skills? Motor skills are the muscle movements that we do every day. They allow us to do everything from running and jumping to getting dressed in the morning. Motor skills are learned and developed. This means that we aren't born with them. Through repetition and practice, we learn motor skills until eventually it requires almost no effort to perform them. Everything you see here in these photos requires motor skills. So here's an example. Walking is a motor skill. Babies are not born being able to walk. Through repetition and practice, babies develop this skill over time. The group of muscles that are super important to complete any motor skill are called core muscles. These are the muscles in your pelvis, abdomen, back, and hips. Developing strong core muscles helps to make day-to-day motor skills easier. Things like walking to school with a heavy bag, playing sports in your PE lesson, sitting in your chair comfortably without getting a backache, and even handwriting. When doing any physical activity, it's important to remember to not compare ourselves to others, because we're all different, and so are our bodies. When practicing these exercises, it's important to try your best to complete them all. You may find some of these exercises a little tricky, but that's okay. The more you practice, the easier you'll find them. So let's practice some of these exercises together. I'm Mariangela and I'm going to demonstrate each exercise for you. I suggest that you watch the video a few times until you're comfortable and ready to practice yourself. Come down onto the floor and lay nice and flat on your back. Here I'm using a yoga mat, but you don't have to. Just make sure your back is protected. Once you're comfortable, I'd like you to bend both of your legs so that you're in this position here. Your feet should be flat on the floor and so should your hands. Next, I'd like you to lift your bottom up towards the ceiling, keeping your feet and your hands and your shoulders down on the mat. Hold the position here for a few moments and then lower your bottom back down. Good. Let's try again. Lifting your bottom up towards the ceiling, holding the position for a few seconds, and then slowly lowering your bottom back down towards the floor. Let's try one more time. Lifting your bottom up, holding the position, and then slowly lowering back down. Good job. This exercise is called a bridge, and the key to doing this exercise is making sure that your movements are slow and controlled. Try not to worry if you're a little bit wobbly or if your bottom isn't very high off of the floor. That's okay. The more you practice, the better you'll become at the exercise. So even if you're lifting your bottom just an inch off the floor or a few inches off of the floor, that's brilliant. That's fantastic. Keep going. This next exercise is called a 4-point kneel with arm and leg extensions. So come down onto the ground, kneeling down, and place both hands flat in front of you like this. Come up and move your legs back slightly, making sure that your knees or your legs are hip width apart, so you've got a gap in between your legs. Now raise one of your arms up out in front of you and hold it there for a few moments before bringing it back down. Let's try the other arm. Lifting up, holding for a few seconds and bringing it down. Now we're going to try lifting one leg, which is harder, but give it a go. Lifting up one leg, trying to keep our body nice and straight and not wobbling too much. And then try raising the other leg. Now don't worry if you can't get your leg up really, really high, that's absolutely fine. You just raise your arm and your leg as high as you can. Now this next part is tricky, but do try. You're going to raise one arm and the opposite leg as I've just demonstrated here. You will definitely feel a little bit wobbly, and that's perfectly fine and perfectly normal for you to feel slightly off balanced here. The more you practice this exercise, the easier it will become. Okay, if you're feeling very, very wobbly and very unstable, then just practice lifting one arm and lowering it down, and then lifting one leg and lowering it down, as I did at the start of this video. Practice that as much as you need till you feel comfortable and stable and strong in that position. And then when you're feeling more confident, try lifting one arm and the opposite leg. Give it a go. This exercise is called a bicycle, and that's because your legs are going to mimic the same motion as riding a bicycle. So coming down onto the floor and laying flat on your back with your knees bent and your hands and feet flat on the ground. Lift your feet up into the air with your knees bent, and I'd like you to kick one leg forward, keeping the other one bent. Now switch and kick forward the other leg and bend. And what I'd like you to do is keep switching, one bent leg, one straight, pedaling those legs forwards and backwards, forwards and backwards. So straight and bent, and switching to straight and bent. Now if you're finding that difficult doing it out in front of you, try lifting your legs up into the air and try doing the pedaling motion backwards and forwards, straight and bent, but directly up into the air above you. Have a little rest for a few moments, and then start the motion again, pedaling your legs backwards and forwards, straight leg, bent leg, straight leg, bent leg, and switching. Now you should feel a bit of a burning sensation in your stomach muscles, in your core muscles, and that's a good thing if you can feel that, because it means that you're doing the exercise correctly and it means that it's working. So if you feel that burning sensation or that slight little bit of pain, keep going. It means it's working, okay? And you can have a rest and start again, and have a rest and start again. Good work. This next and last exercise is called Superman. I'd like you to come down onto the floor and lay on your stomach. Make sure your body and your arms are nice and straight with your arms out in front of you. Now when you're ready, what I'd like you to do is to just lift up your head, keeping the rest of your body straight and on the ground. Pause and hold it there for a few moments, and then lower your head back down for a little rest. Next, I would like you to lift your head again, but this time I'd also like you to try and lift your arms and shoulders off of the floor too, like this, kind of like you're flying, like Superman, and lower back down. Now this next part is tricky because I'd like you to lift your head, your shoulders, and your legs off of the floor, like this. And notice how my legs aren't bent at the knee. I'm trying to keep everything as straight and as tight as possible. Now it is tricky, and if you're finding the legs part of this exercise difficult, please just practice lifting your head like this and lowering it down, and lifting your arms and shoulders with your head and lowering down. Practice this as much as you need to until you're feeling confident. Don't worry about your legs. But when you're confident lifting your head and shoulders, then do try and lift up those legs as well. And when you're doing this exercise, the idea is for you to lift everything up like this for a few seconds, holding it there, and then lowering your body back down for a rest. Lifting everything up, lowering back down, and continue doing this, lifting and lowering as much as you can. And like I always say, the more you practice, the easier the exercise will become. So those are the 4 core strengthening exercises that you should be practicing. If at any point you're unsure, please do refer back to those videos as many times as you like. You might now be wondering how often you should be practicing and how many times you should be repeating the exercises, and I'm going to explain that to you now. So when you're exercising, quite often people refer to exercises in sets and reps, and I'm going to explain what those 2 terms mean. So reps is short for repetitions, and repetitions are the amount of times you complete an exercise before stopping for a short break. Take the bridge exercise, for example. When you lift your bottom up and down, that is 1 rep. You want to aim to repeat this 10 times without stopping, meaning 10 reps. Once you've completed 10 reps, it's a good idea to have a rest before starting again. When you start again, you'll be starting your next set of 10 reps. So a set is a group of 10 reps. Sometimes the number of reps in a set will change from 10, but 10 is a good number for this exercise. When you're practicing, it'd be a good idea to practice as frequently as possible. Try and aim to practice daily. It doesn't have to be for a very long time. I'd recommend 5-10 minutes a day.